Alright, now casting and a battle that's probably almost finished between server 10 on the right and server 5 on the left. And server 10 is in the process of losing, I guess. I originally wasn't planning to do much casting or cast at all, but I was watching this battle for about an hour and a half, and people just made a lot of very strange moves, mostly by server 10. I think server 5 played fairly well so far. I think Nefisto actually plays pretty well for how long he's been playing this game. Like, I don't think he's playing that well, but considering how long he's been playing, which is not that long at all, maybe 2 months, like, these servers have been around for over a year. Considering he's been only playing for 2 months, I think he's been playing pretty well. So a lot of mistakes from server 10 overall. They were building this flag over here, and I know General is very strong, but he's been very bad at reinforcing like important flags. Not that it really matters, because if we look at the big picture here, I don't think there's all that much they can do unless they really do some kind of committed push. Oh, I can't zoom out. Come on, zoom out for me. Oh my god, game, please. Zoom out, yeah. So they're not doing too well. And they've been trying to get around it. I think server 40 is just completely depressed, so they're not going to do anything. They're just all chilling here. I don't think they're going to do much. Yeah, they're rallying Hell Watchers. That's not going to go anywhere. So back to the fight. So I think the issue right now is that because Windstriders, which is the Season 5 Titanos, because their damage potential is so high versus backline archers, you cannot really convincingly win any fights. What would happen is that even if you win, the Windstriders will wipe out both sides archers and cavalry. So what happens is that you kind of end up with infantry only. So each fight, even if you win, it's a very Pyrrhic victory. You lose pretty much 80 to 85% of your troops. And what kind of happens is that after a big rally, you can actually launch 1 or 2 solo attacks, and that's just gonna clean up the entire defense. Even if it has like 500k troops across like 8 different players with 2500% stats. And why? Because they have no cavalry and no archers left. So you just go in with a full team, and now you have the upper hand, because without cavalry and infantry, they have nothing to boost their Titanos damage. So you can just kick them out. But once again, there's not much point to doing that, because they're just going to rally you again. And what are you going to do after that? So it kind of comes down to the number of troops each side has, and the number of troops they're willing to put in this Revelry of Fire, which I think is very generous. You get 90% back. So Nefisto here. So here's why I think server 10 cannot really win this right now. So Nefisto here has 1.5 billion power, which is about 1 billion power worth of troops, or 1.1. Actually, it's more like 1.2 billion power worth of troops. And 1.2 billion power worth of troops is around 15 million troops. And FRZ over here, which is our main contender for, which is like the backbone of server 10 right now, only has 829 million. And that is about 7 million troops. So he basically only has under half the troops of Nefisto. And considering overall he's weaker than Nefisto, it's not a good sign. We can see they're building here. This is going to cut all these flags out. Now, server 10 can't really do much, because if they try to connect here, like over here, what will happen is that server 5 will finish building this flag first because they have the maximum rally size. They will surely finish this first. And the only way is if they build it right now. Like, server 10 needs to build it right now, otherwise they're going to finish it first, and either Nefisto is going to solo march towards it, which is honestly never a good idea. But server 10 hasn't really been reinforcing their flag, so it's actually a good idea. Or they could rally it. If they rally it, then it's about 5 minutes. And the time difference is going to be more than 5 minutes if they don't start building like right now, which they aren't doing. So I think they've kind of given up already. Yeah, I don't see much hope for them. And that's really unfortunate because if it wasn't for Windstrider just completely wiping out the archers, like if they actually did a proportional amount of damage to infantry and archers, then I think server 10 would have a real chance just by virtue of having 5 maxed Windstriders. Because ironically what's happening right now is that Nefisto's side, they have about, I think, 3 maxed Windstriders, maybe 4. And that's contending with whatever server 10 has, because it's just simply wiping out the archers. Whether you have 3 or 4 or 5 Windstriders, the archers are wiped out after every clash. Especially because server 5 has more stats. And the next clash, like after a single clash, both sides lose a lot of troops. And right now, the situation is that server 10 simply cannot support the losses. Yeah, that's basically the gist of it. And that's why they cannot really sustain the push by server 5. The only hope is if server 40 joins the fray, but I don't think they have any motivation left after the developers uncapped, I should say, the relic tiers, which is absolutely ridiculous. It's very funny because in prior updates, like even from Glorious 5 to Glorious 10, the cost of maxing the new content wasn't that much. Like even if you rushed, going from Glorious 5 to Glorious 10 would maybe cost you a maximum of $15,000. I know that's a lot, but compared to the new tier of relics, which purely gives stats, by the way, like Glorious 5 to 10 gives a lot of solo power, whereas the new relic metal and gem tier, it gives a lot of stats, which has a lot of power in terms of rallying. Like whoever joins your rally, they take on whatever stats you have and also boosts those stats. So stats are really good for rallying, while glorious tiers are really good for solo. So back to the cost. So in previous updates, like a maximum 10-15,000 for the entire update, and those are like huge updates, increasing the glorious from 5 to 10. Well, I think my game is gonna crash. No, it's not. And T11, new Titanos. Well, Titanos are cheap comparatively. They're only like $3,000 to rush, but they're just cheap. The new relic tier, like the new Lord Power tier, I think it totaled around $53,000. And the only person here who has the funds to actually max it is Nefisto. I think General, well, FRZ also has the ability to max it, but I think he's going for a more cost-efficient route. Like Nefisto, this guy, he doesn't care about cost efficiency for the most part. I'm sure he cares a little bit, but if there is a way to rush, he's gonna rush it. And he's already spent about $300,000. I'm sure in this battle he's spent probably close to $10,000 already, but he can't afford it. But I'm sure he spent over $300,000 already. And the cost to like slow rush an account, like to have a maxed account by season 5, that would cost around $110,000 to $120,000. More closer to $100,000. More closer to $110,000. So he's basically spent 3 times that amount. Uh, that being said, he did rush to max. Well, he's pretty much max now. He needs maybe 2 million more Lord power, and he would be completely maxed. He rushed it in about a month. Like the first months plus maybe a week, I'm not even gonna count that because he was in season 1, and after he moved to server 5, that's when he really powered up. Now let's go back to the battlefield and see if there's, yeah, I think server 10's given up. I don't see much here in chat. Maybe they're discussing how they're gonna launch the next push, but unless server 40 does something, let's see if there's anything going on. Last I checked, they were still dozing off. Wow, I can't even see them. Yeah, they are still just asleep. Yeah, I don't think they're gonna do anything. So it's just server 10 versus server 5, and things are not looking good for server 10. So although I wasn't here to really record the mistakes, I can describe some of them. Like, as I mentioned earlier, when season 5 Windstrider stacked rallies clash, what would happen is that the archers and cavalry would all get wiped. And FRZ or any strong glorious 10 can solo kick out the remaining defenses because all they have is infantry, and infantry cannot really do much damage. However, if, for example, you need 2 or 3 season 5 marches, like solo marches, to kick them out, what you do not want to do is vomit six different teams. Like, you don't want to be pushing season 5, season 4, season 3, season 2, season 1, which is what he was kind of doing. And season 5 is so much stronger than the other seasons, especially backed up by Windstrider, because keep in mind, you cannot push season 5 Windstrider and season 4 Windstrider at the same time. You can only use Windstrider in one team, Odin in another team, etc. So he was pretty much pushing with season 5, followed by season 4, which only has about maybe 15% the punching power as season 5, and then season 3, which has even less than that. So essentially, he's pushing with season 5 and nothing else. But he's going to end up losing about 60 million power in that one push, with no results at all. Instead, if he pushed with just season 5 marches, once back, he's going to get some results. At least he's not going to lose 60 million doing it for nothing. And one thing I was kind of disappointed by is when Nephisto was kind of doing the same thing, or even soloing a full rally, like a full defense, of course he's going to get some damage done. He's going to get hurt a lot. But the only way he's actually going to break a full defense is if they never reinforce. And they never reinforced, which I just don't understand. Like, General is probably using his season 4 team or something, because it got pushed out pretty fast, like within six solo attacks. I think the only way is if FRZ was defending with season 4 or something. Well, this is not going to work. Like, first of all, it's just too late. I think rally, there's not enough time to rally. I was about to say he might have accidentally pressed solo march instead of rally, but there's not enough time to rally either. Like, if he wanted to get rid of this, he would have needed to rally the moment it went up. Let's see if it's one troop or a full march. So we're going to be able to tell once this march goes back. If it's a full march, then he's going to lose like 8 million power, which is never ideal. So 842 to, and the reason why I don't like the skin, yeah, he lost the full march. So the reason why I don't like that, I don't know what it's called, but the green skin, the march skin, is because the hero sign and the timer shows up in front of the sprite, and that's kind of a glitch. I hope they'll fix that soon, but I don't really like that. So back to what I was saying. So I really don't think server 10 defended really well. A lot of times they could have just put more troops back in. Like, don't just let Nephisto attack your banners for free. And I think that's something server 5 did really well, especially in Nephisto. He kept refilling whatever troops he had in that garrison, so they could never break it when it was a full defense, because they just kept putting troops in. And I saw that when FRZ was solo defending a flag, for example, FRZ just pushed them out. Now FRZ refreshed his unit. What S10 really needs to do is to quickly reinforce it. Otherwise, Nephisto, who's stronger than FRZ, will just solo punch FRZ out, and then it's all over. Because server 5 is good at reinforcing. So server 5 just kind of slow marched to that flag. And the general, like 45 minutes ago, was all the way down here for whatever reason. He was reinforcing from like 50 miles away. So Nephisto just kicked FRZ out every time, and FRZ just got nowhere. And people, like, I think they are a little allergic to using speed ups for some reason. Like, in these cases, you have to be decisive. You cannot let server 5 have these advantages, like have these small wins, because you wear out your own server's like resident well, like the person you're relying on. And now they're either gonna rally this or rally this. I would probably just rally this. Like, if you rally this, there's nothing they can do. If you rally this, honestly, there's not much they can do either. So I guess it doesn't really matter. But yeah, I think overall server 5 played better than server 10. I think general should have been a little more proactive in terms of reinforcing the banners that they have captured, like either they're burning or building. I remember, like, when they destroyed this banner, like that server 10 was burning. I mean, when they kicked server 10 out, general still had his season 3 team. And I think FRZ also had a season 3 team here. And Palm was trying to defend that flag from Nephisto. But it simply doesn't work because Palm does not have enough power to replace the defense of either FRZ or General. You have to have more power to replace their defense. Well, Palm can actually replace General's defense, but he cannot replace FRZ's defense. So if FRZ is using season 3 heroes, then Nephisto is literally ramming his season 5 against the season 3 defense. And I think FRZ in this case had more than enough time to switch his season 3 team out with season 5, but he didn't do that. So that really just gave Nephisto the opportunity to just instantly cancel that flag with just 2 attacks. Like, the first attack, I bet it damaged him heavily, and the second attack just kicked him out, because it was season 5 versus season 3, playing as that. It doesn't matter. I guess it does matter how many Wind Striders you have, but it's still season 5 versus season 3. Yeah, so now they rallied this flag, and server 10 is just not in a good position. They are just not in a good position. So one funny thing is that Mephisto's power actually went up and up and up across the course of this fight. I think he started at around 1.3 million. I mean 1.3 billion. And 2 hours later, he's at 1.5 billion. That's pretty funny. I wonder what he's using to train troops. Like, there's no troop packs right now, so he's probably buying from here. Because in this game, you cannot really train troops with gems. It's just way too expensive. Like, compared to Rise of Kingdoms, it's probably 10 times more expensive. So you can't really do that. So what he's probably doing is he's buying these packs. Where is it? The training packs from here. I'm sure yeah, these packs. And you can buy a lot of these packs. And if you run out here, you can probably buy from the special packs. I've never bought here because it's just so inefficient. It's like 5 times more expensive here than anywhere else. Yeah, universal speed ups, training speed ups. He could be using any of those for troop training. But yeah, he grew 200 million power, and that's pretty funny. So what is server 10 gonna do? Well, seeing that they haven't teleported, I'm probably gonna start recording again once there's a response from server 10. But right now I'm just gonna leave it at that. In summary, I think server 5 played quite a bit better. I was especially impressed by Mephisto. I think he didn't play that well, but considering he's a 2-month account, he played really well for 2 months. I don't think I would be as good as him if I only played for a couple months. Server 40, I think they could have tried a bit harder, especially in opportunities like this. Like, I can understand when you're facing server 5 alone. Like, that's hard, especially with Mephisto. But when server 5 is busy with server 10, they cannot really defend against server 40. Like, server 40 is by no means weak. They have at least 4 G10s. Yeah. So I'll leave it as that. If there's more activity, I'll start recording again. But for now, catch you guys later. Oh, special thanks for Deuce Dog.